Yesterday afternoon, I spent most of the day collecting my slides because I wanted to speak on the dollar, the euro, Japan, and everybody else versus inflation and deflation, okay? And then you wake up this morning and, well, life happens. So with this attack by Israel on Iran, I just want to step back and have what I consider my thoughts and what are the possible, I don't know what you want to call this, investment narratives that I'm watching and have been watching actually for the last 3 years. Before I start this, I just want to say that most of my family and friends and colleagues that I've been working with a long time know exactly how I feel. I don't make videos on this because it's my opinion, and everyone has an opinion, and my opinion is just as worthless as everybody else's. But let's look at what's going on. Now, we know Israel attacked Iran, and it's interesting to me that everyone looks and says, well, now Iran is going to hit Israel. And all I'm saying, if I was an Iranian, that would literally, I want to hit them, but it would be the last thing on my mind that I would want to do. Next, as everyone knows, that when something like this happens in the world, the first thing that happens is that people buy the dollar and they buy our bonds. But when we look at the dollar today, now yesterday afternoon, we hit a new low for this low here, okay? We're not going back in history, just since January 20th when Trump was put in. And here today, even with this attack, we're only up 15 cents. Even more amazing to me is that yesterday we were 435 on our 10-year bond. Today we're 442. That doesn't actually seem like we are now considered a flight to safety for whatever reason. I'm just looking at the numbers. I have no interpretation of this. This is entirely up to you to think about, okay? So like I said before, you have to look at the Iranians and look at it from their point of view. What would you do? And the way I look at the region is this. Here's all the oil and gas fields in the Middle East. And all that green and the red on the right-hand side, okay? That's sitting on top of what we call the Persian Gulf. Now, the Persian Gulf is this massive 35 miles wide. That's what it is, 35 miles. And I only point out that it's been stated in the papers and the things and all the military sites that I follow that one, they were reporting for months that Iran has 250,000 missiles, and supposedly they just received a lot more missiles from China, okay? So let me ask you a question. Why wouldn't you, if you were the Iranians, just shoot your missiles 35 miles? There's nothing in this world that can stop those missiles from hitting the oil fields. Literally nothing. And so then the question is if you hit them, what happens to the price of oil? Now, JP Morgan saying, well, look, we could hit $130 a barrel. He said, but we're still calling for 60. But you don't have to be a genius to look at your machine this morning and see we're at 74. So I guess 60 is out of it. And so why wouldn't you do this if you were Iran? In fact, is the only reason that I can think that the Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, Emirates all still have their oil field is because that is where China gets their oil from. And China is Iran's, partner, whatever you want to call it. They support them, all right? So how long do the Chinese hold off the Iranians from not hitting the oil fields? Because China imports 85% of their energy. And if it gets cut off, and if we hit those oil fields, this is what I want you to think about. If we hit these oil fields, they'll be gone for a couple years. And I want you to put this in context with COVID, all right? We're still having effects of us staying home for 18 months, 2 years, whatever it was, on offices, office space. We still have not worked that out, all right? So I just want you to remember that. Now, a lot of the people I work with, I'm big on what's going on with fertilizer. And again, I just want to point out that, in my opinion, as we're going from the old world into the new world, we have to watch the 5 major global things that happen. And that's food, energy, technology, security, and what people call UCI, underwater critical infrastructure, which I also kind of throw in there, like we just found out, on the rare earth minerals. So on fertilizer, 50% of the urea that is made in this world comes from Iran. And by the way, that's where we make fertilizer, all right? Now, that's where we make oil-based fertilizer. There's potash, which is made from potassium, okay? And just for edification, 85% of the world's potassium comes from Canada, where almost all our potassium comes from, okay? And thank God we're on good terms with the Canadians, right? So look at your prices on potassium, all right? They're up. Everything is up. This is going to directly affect our food, all right? Now, this is 1922. This is when the Ukrainian-Russian war first started. JP Morgan sees $380 oil. I want you to give a little history on this. When the Soviet Union fell in 1991, the demand inside the Soviet Union collapsed, okay? So where they were still exporting the oil to the world, as they did, it was still the Russian oil production was backing up because they were not using it themselves. Now, you got to remember something. Russia drills in the frozen tundra. And so once those oil wells back up and they have to close them, we needed experts like Schlumberger to come in and open these up. The Russians can't open them up themselves. And just go back and look at the Ukrainian-Russian war. The first 2 companies out of there were Schlumberger and the other one who does this kind of work, okay? They just left. Now, when they had to close their wells in 92 and 93 because demand was not there internally, okay? And they finally cut a deal and they were able to bring in Schlumberger and everything to open up their wells. They get the oil flowing together. What year did they finally solve the riddle and get it open? It was 2019, right as they went in to the Russian-Ukrainian war, okay? So it's not that easy to open up once Russia closes down. And we know that slowly but surely they're being choked off on their oil in the frozen tundra. They're going to face the exact same situation again. So I was going to come on and say, I'm not really sure, kind of my opinion, right, that we could see some kind of deflationary action before we see a major inflationary action. And that was what I was going to speak about today and give you all the numbers and my thoughts on how that happened. But all those bets are off now. I mean, we're at $74, and God knows, Israel says they're going to be doing more and more and more and more attack. And if you're really, really hurting them, I mean, if you're the Iranians, what would you do? I know what I would do. I would take out all those oil fields in a second, okay? But that's me. What do you think? Tell me in the comments. And more importantly, what do you think is now going to happen to inflation? The only reason our inflation numbers are down, that PCE, is because of our energy prices. The only reason, okay? That is over, totally over. As Mr. Global said today, everyone, leave your house immediately and go fill up your gas tanks. It will be the cheapest gas you're gonna have this entire year and maybe next year. Like and follow, tell me in the comments what you think.